What I'll be doing today is a product review. I've bought the product with my own money. I'll be reviewing it and informing you in an unbiased way of its functionality. And a lot of people have in the comments have lost the art of knowing what a review is. They assume it is my kit and somehow I'm trying to promote it or sell it or tell you it's the best in the world. That's not what a review is. A review is something that somebody with an unbiased opinion is testing for you. And welcome to bexbugoutsurvivor. I need to collect some of this water here, and there is an array, a whole plethora of different water filters on the market. In my pack I'm using a hydration bladder, one of the simpler setups you can get, and this carries really nice in this pack. But in this scenario I need to refill that bladder. Now that means taking it out of its housing and then scooping somehow all this water into my bladder. Now it's not the only way you can filter your water or collect your water, and the great thing about this little system, I'm not going to remove the bladder. I'm going to pump the water through the mouthpiece to fill the bladder. So I don't have to remove the bladder or the tube or anything. I just take a pump out of my pack and pump up 2-3 litres in just a couple of minutes, and then I'm on the way again. So that's what we're going to have a look at, a pump and a filter. I'm just going to sit down on that tree stump over there and have a quick look and chat about these pumps. It's a military pump, by the way, and it does take up a little volume, so if you're a lightweight tracker, just rely on your little Sawyer filter or your Catadine, whatever filter it is. This might have application for you if you are expected to filter and pump a lot of water bottles for your group. But for me, it's not that big just to pop into a little hiking pack. So I have all my essentials here, which is a flask of Costa coffee, a must have, a water collection unit, just a litre bottle here, a little ranger band and a spare tube, and on the other end a filter. It's good enough for 0.1, maybe 0.1, and that'll eradicate bacteria and things like that. That could be your little Sawyer filter connected to your bottle, but it's not what we're looking at. It's not what we're looking at. Put my mat out so we can have a look at what we are looking at. There's a lot to show here, so settle back and catch up quick. So this is an amalgamation between trekking and a survival kit, so I'm gonna have to mix and match. This is the Army filter. Now this will filter virus, as where your little Sawyer and your little Survivor one filters like this. That won't do any virus at all. as where this will, but that's had its day. It needed replacing, and I just replaced it for one of them cheap little Sawyers. I'm not a fan of them, by the way. This is the water pump. Now it's a two-way valve, so it'll draw water on the return as well. A collection nozzle. The collection nozzle has a very fine gauze here. Now that'll prevent the larger particulates from the water entering the pump. There's no filter on it just yet, so there we are. It all connects together. And this applicator here, which has the quick connect. It's its own quick connect, which can be dual mounted to both source and camelback. It takes a bit of figuring out. Like I said, I wanted to replace the filter, so I'd done it with one of them horrible little Sawyers here. It's brand new. I've only ordered it for my trekking pack and just to do this video. I'm not a fanboy of these, and the reason why is these just will not filter the amount of water it says so in the literature and anything you read. I think it said 340,000 litres, more like 300. It's only 20 bucks by the time the tax and customs was on that there, about 30 quid. It's only my opinion, you're not going to get anything like 340,000 litres from something that's just cost 20 bucks, 30 UK pounds. Not a chance in hell. For something like that, you're going to have to upgrade your system a lot more, and that can be put in the bin now. That's had its day. That did about 300 litres, so realistic for me is 300, not 300,000. 340,000 litres, believe me, is sales hype from this. Let me give you another one. This is Aquamira. I don't know if it's the pro version. I'm on about 600 litres with this. I've had it a couple of years or so. I don't often use it, but every time I use it, it's been just fine. What are the differences between this and the Sawyer? Answer: nothing. Zero. There's no difference between the internal mechanism from the Sawyer than the Aquamira Pro to the Catadine. What it is, the medium on the inside that filters is identical. All these type of filters have a hollow fill membrane, like pieces of string. They're bent in half and then glued to a resin disc. That resin disc, you can't pump water through anything less than 0.1 microns. 1 micron being about 1/10 the width of a human hair. So about 1/10 the width of a human hair, and that is the amount of water that can be forced through a resin that sits on the end in there. And if I was to take apart my Aquamira Pro, it's the same technology. They all have to pass a test before they are eligible for sale in Europe. They're all as good as each other. In order to connect this to the pump, I have made a couple of connectors here. These are from the source, little click connectors. The mouthpiece, I can have a connector on. Now I'm not going to put cable ties or Jubilee clips around that. It just seems fine as it is. Now what I have is something I can use in line. I can just put that straight into my bladder system, or connect that to my bladder and drink through the hose without this applicator. This applicator draws one direction with the filter, so we look for a direction. There's the flow direction, so I want the clean water coming towards my mouth, and the dirty water is coming up the tube into the pump. This is the way I connect. Now I'm ready to pump, and I'll be pumping directly into the mouthpiece of my bladder. Again, check the flow rate direction and onto that connector there. Let me just get my mouthpiece here. The mouthpiece here connected directly to the tube which goes to my bladder. It's a quick connect, never quick for me. I haven't got the fingernails for it. But that's off. Now I can connect that part in, which is now connected to the Sawyer water filter through the mouthpiece itself. So that is the system. Dip that in the water, pump it, clean it, direct the water to the bladder without having to remove the bladder from its backpack housing at all. Mine is sat just behind the back mesh on this semi-exo frame here, and that is good enough for me, and that's what we'll be testing. So I need to tip some of this water out because it is full up to this 2 litre line here of tape that I put on. I could do with taking that off actually. Either this is going to work for you or it's not. Like I said, if you're DOV or anything like that, you might want to pump your water for your little troop. Oh wow, that's hot, super hot. Shouldn't have taken a swig that big. Don't get bogged down by these filters here, whether it's the Aquamirror Pro, whether it's Catadine, whether it's a generic, it doesn't matter. They've all got to conform to an EN standard, and that is fine for things like bacteria such as cysts, E. coli, salmonella, giardia. It'll do it all, but don't get bogged down into believing that any filter with a medium like a hollow fill fibre and a resin disc will ever filter viruses, which are 0.001. So now this whole unit is connected together, the pump, the collection tube, the filter, which directs straight into the bladder which sits in my pack. We're going to collect some water, but I need to empty this bladder first. So let me take this out and disconnect where I can. Yeah, what I was going to say then was, don't get bogged down by believing hype, what these filters can and can't do. For $20 and $30, 20, 30 UK pounds, you're going to get what you pay for, guys. I know there's a big fan club of Sawyer, there's a big fan club of Aquamirror, and I do like Aquamirror. Okay, that's completely empty now. Yeah, you do get fan clubs of these certain bits of kit. Don't be swayed by believing the hype. They're not going to do viruses, and they've, for agricultural runoff and chemicals, yeah, sure, I know it says it can do this, that and the other, don't believe it. Now for the price of these little filters, say $20, $30, 20, 30 quid, doesn't matter, I would get 5 of these and have 3 at home, 1 on your system, a spare in your pack, and kind of chuck it at 300 litres. What's that? 2 litres a day, 6 months at 2 litres a day for 20 bucks or 30 quid. You've had your money's worth, guys. Chuck them. Don't be trying to wash them out so much, trying to get that 340,000 litres. It's not going to happen. You can take the nozzle off your bladder and connect in like that. Now you have a little inline system, and of course I don't need this piece here. I can direct to the mouthpiece on the end here, but because I am going to start pumping in a minute, I'm going to put that section on here, which is quick release. Make sure I've got the flow rate corrected. Take that back off. Now that is a size I would prefer to carry for trekking, but for bug out bags I don't mind adding something that is that kind of size in relation, so it's like having two of them really. Adding a pump, it's no big deal. Some people might even want to carry that even for trekking. It doesn't take up much space. Okay, let's set this up and have a go at pumping directly into this bag here. I'm going to deconnect everything I don't need, or need in a minute rather, into my little bag. I'm going to keep that as it is, put it into there, and it'll be a good little test. Okay, that is what it was replacing. Now if you do want the MAD system that comes with the pump, which includes this does heavy chemicals, it does agricultural runoff, heavy metals, pesticides, herbicides and virus. This is 0.001 virus, and I know a lot of people say it will be saying high up in the hills there won't be any virus, and you're probably right, but where I am, if I'm taking water from lower ground, there has been reports on the news of sewage plants pumping overspill into rivers, which they're allowed to do after a heavy rainfall, and the processing plant in the sewer works can't process that much sewage and water. They're allowed to pump the excess into rivers, and there are viruses in human excrement. There just is. So prior, I used to just have a filter designed for bacteria. Now I'm very wary. I'll be upgrading that Sawyer. Again, any kind of filter like this which has this membrane and resin disc, whether it's Acromera, whether it's Catadine or Sawyer, it doesn't make the water taste or smell any better. You would need an activated carbon filter for that to make your water smell and taste better, and I really appreciate clean smelling, tasting water. So I have another opportunity in another video to add a carbon filter, activated carbon filter, and we'll put it somewhere in this line that's connected to my collection bladder here. So not only will I be able to get rid of the bacteria, not virus, I'll also be able to make the water taste a little better. Let's get this back into play. So I'm just going to break the connection from the Sawyer to the tube, and we'll see the flow rate coming out here, hopefully. So I want to see how clean the water is just as is. I'm going to pour it into this bottle I have. Not sure how much of this I can get in. It's going to be a tricky one. Hopefully I won't spill too much. At least we can see the clarity. And hardly any of that is going in. Very little. It's done nothing for the aroma. Or the taste. But its clarity is good, and that is free of microorganisms. This system is not perfected. Once you put the filter on, it does slow down that flow rate, and that's something that needs to be readdressed. So whether I would bring a pump with me like that on a trek, I don't know, but certainly in the bug out bag, and I would probably pump that water into a bottle, minus the Sawyer, and use a Sawyer in line. Now, given my preference, I'd rather just keep it all connected and pump dirty water straight into my bladder, and then the connection part here would be a Sawyer filter. Okay, time for my final thoughts on the MAD pump. It is really slow, difficult flow rate there, trying to fill even a bottle or anything. Now, the actual pump itself is great, absolutely great. I would definitely have one in the pack. I would just minus the filter and pump directly into a bottle and then clean it from the bottle. So I'd use it as a collection resource rather than a pump directed to a filter directed to your storage, such as a bladder or a bottle. Just pump dirty water into a bottle marked for dirty water and clean it off that way. And then you can just screw on your filter. But to try and use a pump to pump water through a filter, through a mouthpiece and into your collection bladder clean is a tall order. It did a microscopic amount for the amount of work I just put in there. You want somebody on the other end to give you an honest, informed opinion. Then you make your own mind up whether it's for you or not. This, would it be for me? Not the way I'm using it. Would it be for me as a collection pump into a water vessel that then needs filtering? Perhaps. For a lightweight trek, no, I wouldn't bring it in a bug out bag. It's definitely going in. The pump alone is worth it. Just don't connect a filter to the pump, and wow, that can drain some water. Why do I insist it would be in a bug out bag? I've had situations where there has been a storm drain under the road, and about 4 foot away from me is water, and it was a hot day. I had no drinking water and I just needed drinking water. The next drinking water on my map was 2.5 miles away. If I'd have just had a longer bit of hose, connected it and pumped it, I could have pumped it from that storm drain, then into a bottle, then filter it. That is when this pump comes into its own. So now you've got my honest opinions regarding the price, including the MAD pump there, which is virus protected, 0.001. 30 quid. I'd pay 30 quid and just for the pump and bits and pieces alone. Would I trust the actual MAD filter itself? Yes, I would, but I wouldn't try and pump water through it. This system is not ready yet. I don't give up easily. I am going to try and get the pump working in conjunction with the mouthpiece, but in a bug out bag, yeah, I could pump storm water into a container marked dirty water, and then I can filter it whatever way I want with whatever medium I want, including the MAD filter, Sawyer, Catadine, Survivor 1, Aquamira. One of them filters that only filter with a medium of holofill fibre and a resin disc down to 0.1 is plenty. And I am determined to get this working so it can be pumped directly into the bladder from source. That would be great. at the moment it's just not there. It's just not working. I'm going to work on it myself and get it working. Till next time, take care of yourself, and I'll see you out there. Happy trails. Where's that coffee?